Hey everybody, and welcome back to another TMI moment with Terra. I am the T in the TMI, and you are watching and listening to Terra's motivational inspiration. Y'all come on in. If you're watching from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're watching me from, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, do me a favor and click on that subscribe button, then click on that bell so that you're notified when we go live. Also, go ahead and click that share button. Share this with someone else. Let them know that we are live with TMI. We are talking with Terra. Y'all comment. Let me know y'all in here. And if you're catching the replay, do hashtag replay. Y'all know I come back and I interact with you through the comments in the comment section. So we are going to go ahead and jump right on in. As promised, we are going to talk about one of the greatest obstacles that you can face in life. And I'm sure you know by, if you saw the thumbnail, you know what we're talking about. We are talking about fear of failure. Now, we all know that fear is one of the strongest obstacles that can come our way when we're attempting to do anything. And one of the greatest types of fear, of course, is the fear of failure, right? So the fear of failure has crippled so many people from continuing on their path of success. And I was in Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, she said that failure is a feeling long before it's an actual result. Now, y'all, that somebody need to catch that. I need to say that one more time. Failure is a feeling long before it becomes an actual result. And it's the vulnerability that breeds with self-doubt and then it escalates, often deliberately by fear. Studies have shown that at least 1/3 of entrepreneurs don't even start or attempt to start their businesses because they are scared that they're going to fail out of the fear of failure. Isn't that sad? But that's probably because other studies show that about 90% of all new entrepreneurial endeavors fail. So, and then, if those, though, in that and within that 90%, the few that are actually able to make the progress, only a few of them regard themselves as being successful. So you might say, well, it's kind of the fear of failure is kind of smart, huh? No, because it stops us from doing what that thing that we've been called to do. It stops us from taking on challenges. It stops us from opening up ourselves to new opportunity and learning new things. And so what we need to do, we need to identify why we may have a fear of failure. And I'll start with the thing that was my greatest identifier, my greatest stumbling block, however you want to call it, and that is perfectionism. Y'all, when I tell y'all that that was a strong thing for me, seriously, it was, and I began to realize that perfectionism actually became like a defense mechanism because I was afraid of being rejected and I was seeking approval, and I did that through my work. And so when I would do something, I would always say, well, I'm going to do this with excellence. I'm going to do this, so that nobody can question me because number one, I did not want to feel like I was a disappointment. And so now I tell everyone I'm a recovering perfectionist. And so even though I still do things with excellence, I still am as efficient and effective as possible. The mentality behind why I do what I do has changed. It's not because I'm fearing that I will fail. It's not because I am trying to get approval or to be validated by anybody else. It's because that's just the right thing to do. And I have developed the competence to get me to that place. Now, another place where people may begin to develop a fear of failure is in their childhood, because sometimes, growing up, you can have those overcritical adults. Sometimes it can be parents, sometimes it can be teachers, coaches, people who are in children's lives that put unrealistic expectations on them, or when the child has failed at something, they don't know how to properly guide the child in the right way so that the child, instead of being afraid to fail, they begin to look at failures as learning opportunities. And so from childhood, that grows up in us, and it can cause traumatic, it can cause us to have traumatic reactions. And so again, seeking validation, seeking approval from people, that comes from your childhood. Other times that is you develop a fear of failure is when you make it all about you, when you take opportunities, or you when you take the job that you're doing too personal. When you got to understand, even though I am the face and the brand of my business, I am not my business. And I know that sounds a little bit funny, but sometimes if something in my business does not work out, that does not mean my value has decreased. That does not mean that my worth has decreased. That just means that thing didn't work. And so what I need to do is go back, look at why it didn't work, and correct it. And so when I make things all about me, when I have a self-centered view about stuff, and a lot of people don't want to say that they're self-centered. A lot of people don't want to say that they're that when I think about my success or failure, I base it off of my worth or my value, because when I'm successful, then I think that adds value to myself. I think that adds value to my life. No, who I am, who God created me, makes me valuable. Period. Point blank. So there's nothing that needs to be taken away from it. There's nothing that needs to be added to. I was already fearfully and wonderfully made. You were already fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, I may do some great stuff, and I may do some things that are not so great. That does not mean that I'm not great. That does not mean that I am great. I am great because He has made me great. I am great because the greater one lives on the inside of me, because I'm a believer. So I know that I can do all things through Christ that gives me the strength, right? Okay, y'all know I'm a Christian, so I'm a slide that in every now and then. It's just, it's like what's in you is going to come out, okay? And so, but when we making things too personal, then we develop these ideas, these feelings. Remember Michelle Obama, a lot of us think, she's somebody, she's smart, and so we'll take her what she said, and I believe what she said is very true, that it's a feeling before it's an actual result. So I feel like a failure before I actually have failed. And therefore, if I feel that way and I allow myself to be dictated by my feelings, guess what? The fear of failure, because see, a lot of times people be like, well, see, I thought I was going to mess up, and see, I messed up. I thought I was going to fail, and see, I failed. No, it's because you believed so strongly, and you made that thing that you believe come to pass. It's faith. It's faith in work, and a lot of people don't call it that. But it's that strong belief in something that is not, you can't see it. You can't see that you failed. But I got faith so much that I'm going to fail, that the evidence that I couldn't see actually became the reality of what I can see now. Okay, now I ain't finna talk. I'm not finna. I'm not gonna go there. So let's talk about how we can overcome the fear of failure. Number one, we got to identify where that fear comes from. So we got to go to the root cause. I like a saying that I heard many times before. It says many times we are too busy trying to cut the fruit, and we forget about the root. We see the symptoms of the fear of failure, so we try to deal with the symptoms of the fear. So for me, it would have been perfectionism, right? That's a symptom of the fear of failure. But perfectionism really wasn't the root cause of that. The root cause for me actually was the fear of it was centered around rejection, wanting to feel approved, wanting to feel validated. See, a lot of times we cut the fruit, but we don't get down to the root. So we have to really do the work to see what is the root cause to why I'm fearing that I'm going to fail. And when we do that, we'll constantly, if we only only just cut the fruit and we don't get down to the root, y'all, we're going to constantly go through that continual cycle of repeated occurrences of us going through fearing to fail and not accomplishing what it is that we can accomplish because we have not dealt with the root. And if we're afraid to address where those negative feelings and beliefs comes from, then we'll never be able to overcome it. And y'all know I told y'all yesterday that when we begin to think about some things, we need to write it down, because when we just have it in our thought process or in our mind, then it's just like it's in the clouds. But once we have it written down, then we can formulate it becomes a formulated idea or thought, and then we can begin to think about that problem as if we were someone else. So I write down where the fear of failure came from, the root cause of it, not the fruit of it. And then I go and I look at it, not as if I'm Terra, as if I'm Sally or Susie, who don't know Terra, who don't know that, she's just a hard worker. And, because a lot of times we tend to make excuses for ourselves. Until we get to a certain level of maturity where we understand that being truthful is the only way that we are actually be able to obtain the results that we really want to obtain in life, then we lie to ourselves. So until we do that, we got to pretend we somebody else. So let's pretend we Sally. And have Sally to look at those causes that you've written down so that you can begin to deal with those, so that you can begin, because until you acknowledge it, you cannot be healed from it. Then our next step. So number one, we're going to identify where the fear is coming from. Then number two, we're going to write down what is our meaning of success and failure. We're going to put that in our own terms. So if I have an opportunity that I'm facing, or a challenge that I'm facing, that the fear of failure has crept up inside of me, what I'm going to do is write down what does success look like for this? What does failure look like for this? Okay? And some of the things that we need to think about while we're writing that down is that we don't need to have an all or nothing attitude, because it doesn't leave us any room for growth of our improvement. So we need to know that success does not mean 100% perfection. I was reading somewhere that Pixar, the animation studio, they encourage their employees to fail early and fast. Y'all, look, why and that made me think about a speech that was given, I think, at my sister's graduation, and the superintendent of the school at the time, his topic was fail, fail, fail. But now, and we thought that was like, okay, this is their high school graduation speech. You're up here telling them to fail, fail, fail. They trying to succeed. They graduate from high school. They about to go to college. They want to know, how they could succeed, how they can make, and you saying fail. But this was Pixar's thinking, that they encourage them to fail early and fast so that they can use those failures as not as stumbling blocks, but as stepping stones to help them grow and to produce even greater service and a great product. So they believe that if you go ahead and fail, don't look at it as y'all remember in one of my earlier videos, I said, I don't think that it's like a win and a loss, or a success and a failure. I think that when it's not a success, that's an opportunity for me to grow. That's a new opportunity for me to learn. So look at your failure as an opportunity to grow and to learn and to improve. And that will help you to develop whatever, if it's an opportunity, if it's a job, or whatever it is, that gives you a place where you can go up from there. So visualize all of the possible outcomes that could possibly come from this situation, and any outcomes that fall in the failure category, then view those as challenges. Okay? You want to view all of those as challenges. And then when you look at that failure category or that failure column as a challenge or an opportunity for growth or improvement, then remember what I said also in one of my earlier videos. Break it down into chunks, break it down into workable terms, break it down into little pieces so that you can take it one step at a time until you reach your desired results. So, if one of my outcomes is a failure, it's in the failure column. And again, like we said, just for a lack of a differentiation between success and failure, we're calling it failure, but we know in our mind, on our paper, we're going to write in parentheses, these are learning opportunities. So in that column of learning opportunities, improvement, in the improvement column, we're going to look at those outcomes as ways that we can improve. Okay, so if one of the failures is not getting enough clients, well, that's an opportunity for me to improve on my branding. It's an opportunity for me to improve on my marketing. It's an opportunity for me to improve on my customer service, on all right, maybe an opportunity for me to improve upon the services that I offer, the prices. It may be an opportunity for me to improve upon the product that I have. Look at it as an opportunity to improve. Y'all get what I'm saying? Okay, and then number 3, have a no shame policy. When you say, you ain't gonna embarrass me. When it's hard to embarrass somebody who's not embarrassable. There are some people who, no matter what happened, they can turn it into a joke. They can make it, but if you got somebody who's always shame, it takes nothing to embarrass them. Many times we're scared to fail because we'll be embarrassed about what somebody else think. And this is the thing, you got to always remember that there will always be those people who can do stuff that's better than you. There will always be people who wish they could do stuff as good as you, and there are going to be some people who can't do the stuff that you do as good as you. But basically, whether it's good or bad, people are going to talk. If you can get that in your head that people are going to talk. When I first started doing my lives and stuff like that, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, well, am I gonna have enough views? Are people gonna like what I say? Am I gonna be interesting enough? Are they gonna be like, she's boring? Are they gonna be like, the content that she's sharing does not make sense? There's a lot of things that go in your head, but guess what? You also got to get to the place to where you got to say, no, I know that there's value in what I'm sharing. I know that there's a purpose behind what I'm sharing, and you got to move forward in that. And when you can move forward in that, you just make up your mind that you're going to put forth your best effort. And if you miss the mark, then you get up and you try again. So if I miss the mark, then guess what? I'm not going to stop going live. I'm just going to improve upon the things that I'm doing live. So, so I'm always open to criticism. Like some people say corrective criticism or whatever. I look at it like this. If somebody want to criticize you, if you can get to the place to where you don't immediately take offense, good or bad, then you can use that any way that you want to. So if people say, okay, well, you talk too loud. Okay, well, I can either get offended by that, or I can either say, ooh, let me turn my volume down just a little bit. Because I am just loud, y'all. I'm sorry about that. If I am too loud, I'm sorry. Let me try to turn my volume down just a little bit, okay? But if they say that you have a southern accent and it's too strong and you got that southern drawl, okay, well, I can try to improve upon it. I try not to necessarily talk like I'm chewing cornbread as I'm talking, but it may sound like I'm chewing on some collard greens. I don't know, because I am from the South. That's a part of who I am. So, but when you get to the point to where you like, okay, I can accept that. I remember when I began to gain some weight, and it was after my first child or whatever, and I was not able to lose the weight in my stomach for whatever reason, and it just really looked like I was pregnant. Like certain clothes I would wear, my stomach would just like stick out. And so initially I was kind of self-conscious about it. And people would ask me, are you pregnant? Like, when are you due? And I'm like, I'm not pregnant. Like, I just can't lose it. No matter what I could do, I couldn't lose the weight. And so it would affect me for a while. And then I began to just think of it like this. I was like, look, you trying to lose it, like you can do what you do and see what's going on, but um this is just what it is. And so I got to the place where I could accept it. Now I wasn't complacent with it. It wasn't like I was just like, I'm not going to try to do anything about it anymore, but I was no longer going to let that be a source of embarrassment for me. And so one day I had this particular person, they came up, they were a family member, and they known to joke and stuff, and they were just loud, and they were they was talking, they was being nice, and they were like, oh, you look like you glowing. And I was like, I was smiling. I already knew where they were going with it. And they was like, oh, okay. And then they said something to my husband. They was like, all right now, she look like she glowing. You got her glowing over here and da 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 da. And then they said, so when are you due? And I said, I don't know. I'm just fat. And and they were so embarrassed. And I was like, look, y'all do not be embarrassed. It is okay. I just haven't, been able to lose this way, and they were embarrassed. Like, I shifted the tables. I was no longer going to be embarrassed about who I was. That's what you have to learn to do. When you want to face something head on, you got to get to the place to where you're like, I'm no longer going to, I have a no shame policy. I'm not going to be shamed anymore. And then number 4. So let me just recap real quick. Okay, number 1, we got to identify where our fear comes. We're trying to overcome the fear of failure, right? So you identify where your fear is going to come from. We're going to write that down. And then we're going to write down what it means to us to have success and what it means to us for us to, have failure. We're going to write that down in our own terms, right? And then we're going to, in that column of failure, parentheses, opportunities for improvement, opportunities for growth, we're going to write down our challenges, and then we're going to look at those challenges and we're going to break them down into bite-sized pieces where we can identify how we can make those successes. And then number 3, we're going to have a no shame policy, right? So y'all still with me? If y'all still with me, go ahead and comment. Let me know. If y'all are watching, let me get a heart. Let me get a like or something, a share. Y'all don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Anyway, so now number 4, be disciplined enough to develop yourself for your destiny. Many times we fear failure because we look at what someone else's success looked like and how they did it. And even though we are all unique in our design, if we don't realize this, we put unnecessary pressure on ourselves to do things like somebody else did it. However, we can't be anyone. We cannot, I can't be anyone else but myself. And nobody else can beat me being me. That's not just a cliche. That is the honest truth. And just because you've seen something done one way by someone else does not mean that is the way that it's supposed to be done, especially if you are doing it. When we don't embrace that uniqueness that's on the inside of us and the way that we do it, and we continue to try to imitate what someone else do, we rob ourselves of the joy of achieving things authentically the way that God has placed it on the inside of us. I don't feel as fulfilled if I just simply take a template and do it, versus sometimes I don't need a template. Because what I have, there's not a blueprint for it. I'm creating blueprints. Like, you got to be okay with creating your own blueprint. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with templates, because, work smarter, not harder, okay? Like, if there's a template for you to do something, go ahead and use that template or whatever, people do it all the time with their graphics, flyers and all that kind of stuff. They use templates. Okay? Use it. It saves time. But sometimes there's not a template for what you have to do. And when you try to force what you have to do, or what you have been designed to do, into a template that doesn't fit, you're robbing yourself of that fulfillment. You also are going to rob other people from experiencing your unique gift. There's an audience that's designed just for you, specifically for you. And when we allow fear of failure to hinder us from doing it the way that we authentically can do it, then we give that fear power to control our lives, not just in that area, but in other areas as well. Yeah, we've talked about building a solid foundation. We've talked about building a solid foundation in our character and our competence. So you also got to prepare yourself and build yourself up to be able to handle the capacity of whatever challenge you are facing, whatever opportunity you're that's being presented to you, whether it's looking for a new job, whether it's starting a new business, getting married, becoming a parent, starting a new class, whatever the challenge or opportunity is that's causing that fear to creep up on you, make sure that you got the discipline to walk it out until the very end, and don't give up until you have successfully completed it. Take a class if you need to. Sometimes we fear failing because we haven't prepared ourselves properly. We're trying to do it too soon. Maybe it's not time for you to go ahead and launch the business. Maybe you need to take a couple of classes, or maybe you need to get your coach to help you get some things in order. And then once you got those things in order, then maybe you can do it then. However, whatever it is, take the time to make sure that you have your character, that your gift and your talent don't take you somewhere that your character can't keep you. And also make sure that the illusion that you are creating around yourself is not just an illusion or a hallucination, but you actually have the competence to do it. Because see, fear, in that sense, fear of failure is not a bad thing if it pushes you to develop yourself like you're supposed to. Failure really not it is really not the major issue. When it comes, it really is not. It's what we perceive as the consequences of our failure that many people are afraid of. So, number one, what we're going to do to overcome it, we're going to identify what the issue really is. We're going to write it down. And if we're not able to be honest with ourselves, we're going to act like we're somebody else. So we're going to be Sally, or we're going to be Johnny. And we're going to act, unless you're Sally or Johnny, and then you're going to have to be somebody else. Okay. But you're going to act like you're somebody else. And you're going to look at it as if you're talking to someone else. Okay, then number two, we're going to go ahead and write down what we believe that our success, what is success, what is failure. We're going to do that. We're going to write that down in our own term. We're going to have some columns here. We're going to write down our possible outcomes, and then any outcome that is not a positive one, then we're going to use that as an opportunity to grow and develop, and we're going to develop plans that are workable. We're going to break it down into bite-sized pieces so that we can work it one step at a time. And then we're going to have a no shame policy. So I'm not going to be shamed if I fail. So, hey, if I'm not shamed if I fail, then what else is it? I just start over again. If you're walking in front of a huge crowd and you slip and fall, and, now if you stay there, then you bring more attention a lot of times. But if you fall and you get right back up and keep on doing what you were doing, now a couple of people gonna talk, a couple of people may laugh, but after a while they'll forget about it. What happens a lot of times, we stay down too long so that people can, because sometimes we really, again, those root causes, we really are having a pity party because we really need to be accepted. We really like that attention that we get. Some people like attention, whether it's good or bad. And then number four, we're going to make sure that we have the discipline to develop ourselves for our destiny. We're going to make sure that our character and our competence levels are where they need to be. So there's nothing for us to fear. I'm prepared. So I'm good. Yeah, when you were taking a test, would you be scared? Now you scared if you didn't study for that test. If you just put that book under your pillow, you might be a little scared. But if you study for the test, you know those spelling words, you know those vocabulary words, you know that math problem, you know the formulas. You like, come on, I'm ready. Let's go. And then from there on, we're gonna address our fears head on. And the next time that we're faced with an opportunity and fear begins to try to creep back up, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna do just like Nike said. We're not going to go back or draw up or draw in. We're gonna just do it. We're gonna do it whether we're fearing or whether we are bold with it. However it is, I'm just gonna do it. And the more that I do that, the more that I don't yield to that feeling, the easier it becomes the next time. And when we learn how to push past our feelings, when we learn how to push past our fears, when we learn how to push past our failures, guess what? We finally get to a place where we are on the other side of failure. We finally get to the place of success. Because remember, success is not necessarily 100% perfection. Okay? Y'all, look, I hope that this helps someone. I pray that if you have been fearing to get started to do whatever it is that you need to do, if you need help, reach out. Get someone that's qualified. Get you a coach. Get you a consultant. Get you someone that can help guide you in that manner. Sometimes you need a community of people that will be able to help walk you through that. But this is the one thing. Even with having a community of people, make sure that even that those times where you may have to walk alone, that you have it inside of you. You know that you are enough. You know that you have what it takes to succeed. There used to be a gospel song that said, "I'll go if I have to go by myself." Sometimes you may have to go by yourself. You got to have that kind of determination that if nobody else is supporting me, I'm not going to talk about those who's not supporting me, because that's using up energy talking about useless stuff. Because remember, there's an audience for you. You just got to go find it. All right, y'all, look, this has been your TMI moment. Y'all remember that y'all can go to my website. Don't forget, you can go pick up my book, Finding Your Voice Inside of the Noise. My website is www.askTMI.com. You can get the physical copy, or you can get the physical copy, or you can get the digital copy. And yeah, listen, you can go on Amazon as well. So hey, I'm out there. We're doing this. Like y'all, let's do it. You do it. You can do it. I want you to really believe that you can do it, and don't allow the fear of failure to stop you. I was afraid to write my first book. I really was. I was afraid that people wouldn't want to buy it. I was afraid that if they bought it, they would think that, okay, I done paid this much and it's not enough content in it. Is it big enough? Is it thick enough? Is it, is it too small? Is it too big? Is it, you got all these questions that go on in your head. And I just had to just do it. And I just did it. And the audience that is for, it's not the whole audience that is for, they haven't already seen it, because there are some people that this book is for that I got to just keep putting it out there, and I'm gonna find them. I'm gonna find the rest of the people, but there were some people that I've already found that said, "Oh, this blessed me. Oh, this has helped me in my journey." And that's the same thing that you got to do. Like, I'm not looking for overnight success. Because guess what? I'm building my house on a solid foundation. So I'm making sure that brick by brick, it's in there. Like, it's strong. It's going to be sturdy. See, when a house comes up too fast, sometimes you got to be careful that you didn't try to cut corners. And sometimes failure is not necessarily a bad thing, because failure makes us go back and look and find those places that had the gaps. Look, I ain't gonna start another topic. Y'all remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. Make a conscious, calculated decision to rejoice and be glad in it. Y'all meet me here tomorrow. We are going to continue our conversation, and I want to continue to drop some nuggets that's going to help you in your practical life. If y'all use this will help you whether you are a Christian or whether you're not a Christian, whether you are in the church or whether you're in the business world or whether you're just at home. You can use this information wherever you go. And that's what these TMI moments are for. They're for you so that you can apply it to your daily life, and you can use something that is said to help improve you and to improve upon what you already have that's on the inside of you, so that you can be the authentic you that God has created and designed you to be. Y'all listen, I will talk to y'all later. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.